Dan does an experiment to find the value of pi. He measures the circumference and the diameter of a circle. He measures the circumference to be 170 millimetres to the nearest millimetre, and he measures the diameter as 54 millimetres to the nearest millimetre. He uses the formula pi is equal to the circumference divided by the diameter to find the value of pi. Calculate the upper bound and the lower bound for Dan's value of pi. So, for the upper bound for his value of pi, I'll call it pi upper, I'm going to want to do the upper bound of the circumference divided by the lower bound of the diameter. This will give me the biggest value that pi could possibly be, the upper bound of it. The biggest value of the circumference divided by the lowest value of the diameter. So let's figure out what the upper bound and the lower bound of the diameter and circumference are. So the circumference was 170 millimetres to the nearest millimetre. So the biggest that could possibly have been is 170.5. The lowest it could have been is 169.5. For the diameter, that was 54 millimetres to the nearest millimetre. So the biggest that could have been is 54.5. And the lowest that could have been is 53.5. So let's come back over here then. So we want to do the upper bound of the circumference, which we know is 170.5, divide by the lower bound of the diameter, which is 53.5. So let's put that into our calculator. We get 3.18691588785, and that's plenty of decimal places. It doesn't specify how many decimal places in this question, which is a bit unusual, but that will be enough, I think. So that's the upper bound for his value of pi. Let's do the lower bound now. So pi lower, I'm going to want to do the lower bound of the circumference divided by the upper bound of the diameter, because that's going to give me the smallest value possible. A small number divided by a big number. So that's going to be 169.5 divided by 54.5. And that gives 3.11009173. So that's my lower bound. So according to Dan's calculations, the value of pi will be somewhere in between this and this. Cannot possibly be bigger than that, cannot possibly be smaller than that, according to his calculations. Which makes sense because we know pi is 3.14159, which is kind of in the middle there.